Today I'll be tying a Compara spinner. This is size 14. It's been a really effective fly for me when you're fishing for rusty spinners. This is a Kelly Galloup pattern that you notice there's a wing, and this is for the angler. If you look at it from below, the beauty about this wing is that it fits the profile of a spinner wing where the wings are flat on the water surface. So really, the fish doesn't see this wing, but the fly fisher does. That's why it's so effective. So let's tie one. I will debarb a hook and put it in the vise. This is a Daiichi 1110 size 14. The 1110 has a straight eye, which is what I like, so it'll fit or sit flat on the water surface. For thread, I'll be using some Danville Brown. It's a 70 denier. And I'll start the thread right behind the eye of the hook, go down about halfway, and then back up at least one eye length behind the eye of the hook. For the wing and the post, I'm using EP trigger point fiber spinner wing color. And this is what the material looks like. So I've pulled out two different hanks, and this is going to be the wing that you will see when you tie this. I'll just trim these feathers or these ends out of the way a little bit, and we'll have this sitting over the front of the hook eye. And that will end up being our wing so we can see it. So I've got that tied in, and I will trim at an angle. That's why I like to tie my wings in first. I can incorporate that into the taper of the fly. I'll continue down with touching turns to cover all of those butt ends, and then tie in a tail. You can use whatever material like microfibettes, any sort of a tailing fiber. I happen to really enjoy tying with Coq de Leon feathers, and these are very, they have some color to them, a little modeling, which I like, and they're very stiff. So I'll pull 4 fibers out and hold on to them, and then pull the wing away. And I'm going to trim those little pieces off that were the curlicues. And as I measure, you notice that I'm holding on to the hook in order to measure. It's on my side of the hook, and I want them at least as long as the hook shank. And as I make a soft thread wrap, they will go to the top of the hook, and I'll hold up on those fibers and continue wrapping back, and that will keep them on top of the hook. I'm right back to the barb. I'll go underneath and pull, make one additional wrap that will tighten my thread wrap. And these will start to splay these fibers. I'm going to see if I can get 2 on each side, and I'll place my thread between them. And that will make a nice thread, or a tail, a splayed tail, which is very natural looking. So as I come back, I didn't go quite down to where the tie-in point was. I'm a little bit ahead of that. And for the body, you can use a dubbed body. That's what this one is. This happens to be a size 16, but it's all dubbed body. I like the looks of the biot body, but honestly, I don't know if the fish really care. So I use the turkey biot. It's a rusty spinner color. That's the body. And the leading edge of this turkey wing is where you'll find the biots. So that's what this is a biot. So I pulled one of those off. And I'll tie it in. Now when you're tying with biots, there's a translucent side here and a furled side here. And depending upon how you tie it in, the translucent side is forward right now, and as I bend that, I hope you can see that there's a tiny bit of a furl. What I like to do on these is have the transparent side follow, and then that will offer some segmentation. I'm going to cut just the tip of this off and make a soft wrap and wrap forward. Now the reason I left a little bit of room is because I don't want this going back. It will, as I start to wrap, it might impact where my tails are. And so I've tried to leave those out of the way. I'll use some thread and I'll wind forward and create a bit of a taper for the body. And actually, if you're tying size 18 and 20 of these, you could just use thread for the body and it would be absolutely fine. So I'm at a point here where my wing and thorax will be. And I will tie in my body. I'm going to use some Zap-A-Gap. This is brushable super glue. This adds to the durability of the fly. And if you've noticed, I've cut away a lot of the brush, so it's a lot finer for me to work with. I'll get my hackle pliers, grab onto the end, and then begin to wrap the biot forward. I'll overlap with each succeeding wrap. And you can notice the natural segmentation that results in using a biot. One more wrap. Hold the biot with my secure thread. Make a few wraps, and we'll trim the remaining part of the biot. I'll position my thread back just a small amount, and now I've got another hank of the EP fiber. It's a little bit smaller because I want the wing a little smaller. And these ends I'm just going to get out of the way. Some of them are shorter than the other. And I'll go underneath and just pull up on the thread, and that will place my material on top. I'll place one more wrap and then make a couple of X wraps here. And one tip I want to highlight is I made this wing a little bit longer than the wing that will end up being upright. And the reason I do that is because it's much easier for me to separate then. It's easy to see which side of that wing, or which piece of the fiber is wing, and which one is the upright wing and which is the down wing, I should say. And it looks like I might have combined those, so I'll get rid of that. And I'll trim that just to get it out of the way. For my thorax, I will use just a small bit of dubbing. And it's just a kind of a darker, it's a superfine, it's just a darker, either a rusty spinner or mahogany done. And I will put some on the thread here, wrapping clockwise, and I will start to make those X wraps again. And the trick of this fly is to try to make sure that these wings don't slide back when they're fished and get stuck along the body. So to prevent that, make sure that you get your dubbing right next to the body, or the wing, excuse me, and then make a wrap. That looks good, and then I'll pull everything up. I still have a small bit of dubbing, and I'll bring my dubbing forward in front of the wing, and now I'm wrapping back onto that wing. Come forward to prepare for my whip finish. But what that does, it keeps this wing upright. Those fibers are pushing it back. So that's why I said it was important when I started the fly to make sure the tie-in point was at least 1 eye length behind the eye of the hook. So let me get my whip finisher here, and we'll finish the fly. You can just pull everything back. Use a 5-turn whip finish. And trim. And I'll pull the upright wing apart, fan it apart, and make sure I have all of these fibers where I want them, and then pull all of it back, place my scissors on the body, and I do that so I don't trim the tail, and I can slide this back to the end of where the bend of the hook is, and I'll trim everything. I'll separate these fibers, making sure that the wing that's going to lay on the water is spread out. And just, I like to trim these along the edge for some reason. I don't really know why, but I do. And there's your finished Compara spinner. So try to tie some of those up. I think if you fish the spinner fall of a PMD hatch, this is a perfect size. This is a 14, but a 16 and an 18 would work. If you have different colored spinners in your area, just change the color of the thread, the thorax dubbing, and the biot for the body to whatever color it is, and I think you'll have great success with it. So I'll leave the fly pattern sheet, directions to the fly pattern sheet in the comments below, and please like and subscribe to my RiverKeeper Fly YouTube channel. Hope to see you soon.